the heartbeat. Punched out like Glass Joe in the first round. I'll beat the game with no cheat, Konami code, just trying to do what my mommy told. Beat the game, break the chain.
That power.
Exactly.
And the power is a metaphor. You know what I'm saying? Like, and for us, it could be a rap contract. It could be whatever. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, what do you do with that power? The first thing he did, if you watch the movie or read the comics or whatever, is he fucking did it for himself. He decided to start wrestling.
Yeah,
and then
he was selfish. In a way, like he wanted
the
money.
Consequence of that was the death of his Uncle Ben. You know what I'm saying? At that point, he had to learn, of course, the time-old adage that great power comes great responsibility. You know what I'm saying?
You know what's weird? Because I like to... I would never say, like, oh, I'm a fucking comic book avid dude. Like, I've definitely read a lot of comics, but not, like, all of them. You know what I'm saying? Like a series. Yeah. So I know very basic general information on a lot of characters. But what I like to do to learn a little bit of those weird little details you wouldn't know unless you read for 10 years is I'll watch YouTube videos where it's like, 101 Spider-Man or something like that, where cats sit down and they're like, I have every issue. And then they tell me some shit, because that's cool.
I'm a pretty huge Spider-Man fan. Like, my dad had a comic book collection that got passed down to my brother, that got passed down to me.
Oh, dude, that's
at
sick.
a horrible age. It got given to me when I was like 7 years old.
Oh, wow.
It didn't last very long as a result. I played with the comics as
Jesus.
But I had Spider-Man comics, some pretty iconic ones, and from there is when I really got into like the lore and the history and like the world. Like Marvel as a whole is just a pretty fucking nuts universe. You know what I'm saying? There's all kinds of shit going on.
Every comic, even the side ones like Dark Horse and things like that, they're all so fucking big. People don't even realize it. Like I can't even comprehend how many characters they have. But what I wanted to say before was that like, I learned that with great power comes with great responsibility. Wasn't even told by Uncle Ben. Like that line was never done. Like they just blew it out for the Sony movie. But it does definitely describe Peter Parker perfectly. Right. And it's so crazy that it's had so many different forms. Like even now, if you're up to date, I'm not up to date. But the last thing that I heard, or the newest edition, was the Spider-Verse.
Oh yeah.
So
that's funny
it's
you mentioned that.
Fucking dope. Like. Not only does Spider-Man have multiple universes beforehand, such as 2099 Spider-Man, and we've seen that before. It's a very old concept from the 90s and 80s, but there's now like within a universe another universe, because inside this universe now has split thousands, I would predict, or hundreds of different other Spider-Mans, like in a different other world where you have Spider Monkey, Cyber Spider, all these other dope people that are. Technically Peter Parker. They're Peter Parker in some kind of reincarnation, and there's just like this. I don't know much about it. I read a little bit.
I read the whole thing. It's actually,
you read the whole thing?
My the project that I'm currently doing is actually partially inspired by the Spider-Verse.
What is that?
Quantum Leap and all that. It's the project, the EP I'm about to drop is called The Life and Death of Bleezy Dangerfield, which is just a piece of a much larger universe that I created. It's kind of hard to explain without giving away the end.
Yeah.
I guess I'll start with like the Ben Cloak project, which is what I put out like at this point 5 years ago. I've been rapping for about 10 years. 5 years ago, I decided to do like
Tucson,
a whole
right?
originally from Tucson, Arizona. Lived there my whole life. Moved here 4 years ago when I had my son, and just go live with my girlfriend, and we have a family together. Yay!
Yeah.
So about 5 years ago, I put out this project called Ben Cloak, which was
Ben Cloak,
which is an anagram of Black One with letters around. You get Ben Cloak. It was called Ben Cloak in the Nameless Horizon. The idea was that it was supposed to be like a different version of Black One. I'm a big fan of shows like Lost and things like that, the Spider-Verse, things like that. I'm a big fan of the mini world.
You like Heroes?
Heroes, yeah. Huge
I never saw
Heroes.
Lost, and I'm kind of glad because of the fucking outlash that had.
Yeah, it's still something you should watch though. It's one of those things that you experience.
I'm so fucking scared to get into that.
The many worlds theory essentially is that there's any single possibility that can happen in the world, there is a universe that exists for it. Mm-hmm. So Ben Cloak kind of when I dropped this EP, I was going through some dark times. So it was like I had a friend that just died. So it was like a very cathartic and emotional EP. Like I had like a dedication song to my father who died at the time, or died previously when I was younger. But the song was dedicated to him. Michael Jackson had just died around that time too when I wrote. So there's a song that talks about that. Overall, though, the album, the theme of that was supposed to be like death, pain, and persevering through all that. So I dropped that a long time ago, put that out. It did actually really well. It's actually one of my most successful projects I ever put out. So then about 3 years ago, I put out this project called Blockhouse, which represents an apartment complex that I lived in Tucson, Arizona. I met my girlfriend there, met my best friend there, or I became my friends with my best friend there.
Yeah.
Threw huge parties there, became a rapper there. I used to rap over EDM and drum and bass and all that before I started doing hip hop and all that.
That's so fucking funny that you. I wouldn't say like I don't mean to interrupt you, but I wouldn't say that I rapped over EDM before. But do you know who Crystal Castles is?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's how. Do you remember their song "Empathy"?
Yes.
Yes, that's the first song that I rapped outside of that party I just talked about.
Oh yeah.
That people wanted me to rap over because we listened to it so much. They're like, dude, you should rap over it, and it was the most complex beat you can think of. Like it was so weird.
That's kind of like what I do. Is like my homie Table Manners. His name is Tyler Disney from Tucson, Arizona. He is a EDM DJ. He actually spins all genres, but he started off with trance and drum and bass. I would go to his house. He had his turntable set up. He taught me how to spin records. But then I would get bored when he was spinning, every once in a while there'd be a break in the beat, so I started rapping over it.
That's awesome.
Shit felt dope, so we started playing shows, started putting together house parties, and so forth. That's kind of how my career started. I have an album that came out that represented that called Blockhouse, and that album kind of like set the stage for this huge, epic, Marvel superhero-like story that continued with this EP I put out last year called Rosemont. With Blockhouse, I promised myself as an artist that I wouldn't put out an album conventionally the same way ever again, in the sense that I would just like drop an album and put it out. I wanted to find new ways to put myself out there because like being just a rapper in 2015 is not that cool anymore. Like,
it's so common that it's just like, of course you're a fucking rapper. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
There's so many people
if
like
you came up to me in 1998 and said you're a rapper, it'd be like, oh, that's fucking awesome.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
You rap?
Yeah. In 2015 though, it's like, oh, okay. So like, I'm 31 years old. I just turned 31 2 weeks ago.
Happy fucking belated birthday.
I feel like just being a rapper is just, there's so much more I can do. I write, I make videos, I do this and that. So I'm trying to like find these ways to express all that.
Push out your music while pushing out different projects as well.
So this last project I put out was called Rosemont, and it's actually a novel that I wrote. And the website's actually, you can go down here soon. I'm taking it down because you can buy the book on Amazon. But it's an actual novel you can write. And if you go to the website, there's videos embedded into the story. So there's like chapter 1, and it explains a story about a kid named Jay Monroe who has synesthesia, which is the ability to see sounds. And
oh shit!
Yeah, and he's a rapper.
I've heard of dudes that can see colors. Not see colors. They can like feel colors and shit like that. There's
same type of thing. And this is kind of based on me because personally, I when I hear songs, it sounds weird, but when I hear songs, I hear the colors of the song. So like I judge colors.
Like they express like different
like
emotions.
A 2 Chainz song, a lot of his songs have a red vibe to them in the sense that they have a very
that's what I'm talking about.
Energy,
I've heard about it on a podcast before.
So and the story is kind of loosely based on me and my life growing up at the Blockhouse and so forth. And the story, if you read through it, it takes a really crazy twist in the sense that this kid's ability evolves into a like emotional based power, in the sense that like with music, you can see the energy in music and you can see how it affects people. So if a 2 Chainz song is on and it's shooting out red energy into the air, and you're in the room, it's gonna change your aura red. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so this kid discovers his power. He's like, okay, like this is dope. Like I can. With my music, I could change lives. You know what I'm saying? And so, I don't want to give away the end of the story, but he ends up playing this big concert. He uses his power against the evil rap group, and they have their red power. And
dude, that's awesome.
Things happen.
And you said you've made videos to this?
Yeah, there's videos that coincide with it. It's in the soundtrack form. But they don't like directly show the novel because that wasn't that cool. But with this, like you go, if there's chapter 1, there'll be a song or a video, and there's a soundtrack that you can download. Etc. so forth. It's just a new way to introduce my music.
Yes.
Essentially.
So
you can go to my
awesome.
Bandcamp.
So you have technically a novel that if you want, you can literally listen to the music and it coincides with the story that you're reading.
Correct.
Dude, that's awesome.
Correct.
That's like a future thing that I was thinking. Like you almost explained something that I definitely was looking into, where I was gonna write, because I'm like, as much as you are with comics, I would say I'm more prevalent with anime. Not like I'm like the shit with it, but I was into anime before I was into comics. That's kind of how I got into comics. I'm like, oh shit, we make these. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So I've written a short novel before with very like so basic for one of my friends. He paid me to write a story for him, and I wrote like a fucking 5-page short story. It's supposed to be like 2 pages, but I was just like, I had so much info. Which that 5-page story turned into like it can turn into a fucking 350-page book easily, like that. So I've not further pursued the concept because I really happened to stumble into this podcast and music more quickly than I thought I would. But it goes along a concept of, it's nothing to do with music. I haven't even written a song for it. But based upon that short story, I kind of wanted to make like an anime, like a little tiny manga where it's like me, because I want to cosplay and shoot a video. That's like what I want to do all the time.
That's a dope idea.
So what I was like, dude, why don't we just cosplay as ourselves? Like, let's make a fucking story where it's just us, doing some fucking kind of mission or some story, something super simple, but enough where we could dress up and just go do this. So make a story that coincides with it. Like Coheed and Cambria did something like that. They had a comic book series. I think it's called The Happening. Or not happening. It's something out there. I apologize. I'll put it in post. But they released this comic book series, and if you listen to the music, it coincides directly with the story, and it's fucking dope because you're telling this story through your perspective as well, like through writing, and so you can elongate the actual meaning of every sentence and get the story down, and then you can put a soundtrack that describes the emotions you were going through. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, like a song does put on a certain emotion. It does create this kind of thing that takes over you to where it is now embedded with a memory. As soon as you hear a song, memory. No matter what the fuck. It's a
universal language. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. And it's just, that's amazing that you've done it. Like, not like you're like, oh, I'm going to do this. You fucking did it. So I'm definitely going to go read that. That's
I've come to realize, like, over the years, like, the power that writing has on the world. Just like, not just language.
Good writing, too.
Just like good writing. Like, writers run the world. Hollywood, all that. Like, you can't have
when you start to write
good movie without a good script.
Exactly.
And for that reason, like, I've always had, when I was a little kid, I used to make little movies and videos and this and that. And like, when I was in high school, I was in TV production and all that. But then for whatever reason, I just started to become a rapper and pursue that career. But my original passion was always movies and making films and all that. And so I've been really getting into script writing and things like that. And I actually finished my first screenplay a couple months ago, and I'm starting on my next one, and et cetera, so forth. But in terms of the Rosemont project, the ending of that, without giving away too much, it leads into a much larger story that involves an intergalactic war, and so forth.
Dude, that's amazing.
We flash forward to the project I'm about to release now, Bleezy Dangerfield. The tone of that is that all the sound of the album overall, the EP I should say overall, is future beats and cloud rap and trap for the most part. There's no boom bap on there. It's very modern and futuristic. That's the sound I'm trying to go for. And the concept is that we flash forward about 50 years into the future after the events of Rosemont. A huge war has broken out. The government has realized that you can use music as one of their weapons to control the people. You know what I'm saying? So now they're like using artists to like pretty much mind control people.
Control the population.
After a series of events, the war breaks out. Shit gets really real. There's a group
gets real right quick.
Yeah, there's a group of people who are trying to pretty much like stop the war, find a way to like go back in time. They've invented a time machine. The time machine is kind of similar to like Quantum Leap in the sense that like you can hop around to different versions of this character from Rosemont, J. Monroe. You know what I'm saying? So the life and death of Bleezy Dangerfield is this character hopping into a version of J. Monroe where he's like a swag rapper and like he's trying to like be a rapper and just like live the swag life, and he has all these swag beats and doing trap beats and cloud shit like that. It's like the cloud swag version of J. Monroe. You know what I'm saying? It's called The Life and Death because he dies. And what happens in the story is like sets off another huge story, which is kind of like the Spider-Verse, in the sense that this character is now going to hop around to all these different versions of J. Monroe to try and find out what was, because this kid J. Monroe is like a huge catalyst to the war for some reason, and they can't figure out why. So now this kid's going to jump around to different versions, including Ben Cloak, going back to that. So that's why I re-released Ben Cloak a couple weeks ago, because it was a 5-year anniversary anyways, and it made sense. But this character will also jump into Ben Cloak. He'll jump into all these different versions. If you go to blackonemultiverse.tumblr.com, you'll see, and this is actually worked out just like, I don't know how this worked out. I went on Reddit, and there's a subreddit called Reddit Gets Drawn. You post your picture on there, and there's all these badass artists that draw your picture. I decided to go on there and post a picture on there, and I got back 30 different pictures of
what the fuck?
Of the same picture.
Dude.
And that's where I got this idea to be like, oh shit, I can use all these to represent the different versions of et cetera, so forth. So if you go to my Facebook right now, you see my profile pic. It has the blood on and whatnot. That's Bleezy Dangerfield. Well, I'm about to drop that. If you click back a couple pics, you'll see Ben Cloak. He's all blue and all sad, et cetera, so forth. And I have all these different versions that will be revealed soon enough. If you go to that website, you'll see all these, like, at least the ones I've revealed so far.
The different versions.
Yeah, the different versions. So this EP is pretty much the soundtrack to that story. I decided to change the format a little bit because of the fact with Rosemont, it was a novel, and a lot of people don't like to read. And if you want to read through the whole 17,000 words of the story, it's a good read. I've had people who've read through it, but I had a lot of people say that it's a lot to digest. So I've been chopping it up into short stories.
A universe.
Exactly. So I've been chopping up into different stories, and what I'm probably going to end up doing is releasing like a book, a series of short stories. Some of the stories will be related to the universe, some will be just random ass short stories. And if you choose to get involved, you can. And pretty much like what I want to do for like my quote unquote fans or people who follow me is like I give them levels of that they can participate at. If you want to just buy the EP, that's cool. That's fantastic. But if you want to get into the deeper understanding of what makes it, you can purchase the story, you know what I'm saying? Or you can watch the mini movie, or you can go to Rosemont and get bigger clues. And I'm dropping clues everywhere. I have all these different websites and different Twitter accounts and et cetera and so forth that create and connect to everything. And the idea is just create a universe, like you said, like to make it more than just being a rapper.
Yeah.
And so this is all leading up to my final album, because I plan on quitting as a rapper here soon, because I'm kind of over it. But it's called Breaking Infinity, and that's going to come out hopefully next year. We'll see. I kind of like scrapped it and restarted, but it's going to tie hopefully everything together. Ben Cloak, me as Black One, J. Monroe, Rosemont, Bleach Dangerfield, the multi-universe is going to tie everything together and tell the whole entire story. So when that album comes out, hopefully if you invested your time into this entire project, you read that story and be like,
it's like
shit.
The greatest fucking end all.
Like,
it's like
shit.
Tarantino, the greatest Tarantino. Dude,
like,
that seems
everything
fucking
will make
amazing.
sense at that point and be like, oh shit. Like, now I want to make a movie, like I want to make
story,
but
or a short movie. Or
that's like, we'll see what happens. Like, I'm just now getting into the movie thing. I'm actually working on a super top secret project with my family down in Tucson called Honor Roll Gang. Shout out to Johnny Red, Jaka Zulu. They're working on a secret project, and they have me involved in that. That involves my writing talents that you'll be seeing here pretty soon. But the idea is really just to be more than just a rapper. The term that my man Blaine Coffee uses is Renaissance man, and you're your example of one. Like, you're doing a podcast right now. That's incredible. You're stepping outside the box, but you also rap too. So it's like, what makes you? If I would, like, when I saw you perform, we performed together, and I thought your set was great. But I've been rapping for fucking 12 years now, and I put on shows in Tucson. I put together over 200 shows in my life, so I've seen a lot of rappers. And I watch you perform, and I'm like, okay, he's a good rapper, cool. But outside of that, I was just kind of like that, you know what I'm saying? But then I saw you bust out the camera, and I saw you filming, and I'm like, my interest level is peaking now, because it's like, you're more than just a rapper, you're actually filming this. And then you hit me up about the podcast, and I'm like, this guy is more than just trying to be a rapper, you know what I'm saying? And then we talked before you started filming about your story, about how you became a rapper and whatnot, and it's like...
Yeah, it's kind of cool that we like jumped in it too, like after that story, because I'm still waiting. My sponsor, shout out to Steady 5, Steady 5 Co, Bubba McComb, wants me to do like a single, by myself podcast and just go over like the story, because that story itself, when you talked about, through your dark time and you had a friend pass away, the friend who handed me that microphone passed away. So it's a really like basic story that got complex after time. Like, it was this little thing that it was a spark that didn't even realize what just created, because without that I would not be doing this. The only reason why I have audio and video equipment is because I have wanted to be a rapper, and the only reason why I wanted to be a rapper is because, if you break it down, and eventually we'll get to the whole story, but my friend passed me a microphone. That's what made me do this. That's what created, the Guycast, and that's created the physical persona Guyver, or whatever you would want to call it. But that's so, like, I don't think about this kind of stuff. Like, I think of a lot of things objectively. I'm a huge avid fan of stand-up comedy, so objectifying everything is like my thing. And the one thing it's hard for me to do, or not hard, but I just don't do very often, is objectify myself. To whereas I know physically what I look like. Like, I've been taking shots and getting shots at, my entire life for what I look like, especially when you have a face like mine with ears like mine and stuff like that. But as far as like technically I'm broadcasting right now. I'm live streaming on Periscope, and we're editing this podcast as well. So I'm technically a broadcaster, which it's so strange to fucking say that. And then I am, an artist. It's weird to say rapper because, like, I just don't feel like people would take me seriously if I'm like.
Well, the thing about hip hop and like that's different from most other genres. It's like once you learn how to do it, hip hop is one of the easiest ways that you can get your story out. It's really easy to learn how to rap and tell a story. I'm saying
because it's mostly most of the good rappers are storytellers.
And when I look around your room and I see like all the stuff you have in your room, I can tell that you appreciate a good story.
Yeah.
And I think that when you had that breakthrough, you realize that like this is a good medium for me to get my story out. Because that's how it was for me when I was younger. Because like before I got into hip hop probably when I was like seriously into hip hop probably in high school. Before that I was listening to like Motown, R&B, and all that. But what happened was that in high school I was raised in suburban Tucson, so like the north side of town, mostly white. The school I went to had mostly we had like 20 black kids in our school. I wasn't really into hip hop at the time, so I would just sit there and watch. After a while, they started to battle me. You know what I'm saying? They'd
be making fun of you, right? They're just not rapping.
You're tall, lanky ass. Get your ass up and rap. And like I'm a very competitive dude. I'm not gonna sit there and just fucking let you just make fun of me. So during third hour, fourth hour, I'd start writing some bars, and then I would be like, "Yo, spit."
Yeah, let's do this, man.
At that time, like my father died when I was 8 years old, so and like me and my mom went through a lot of crazy shit in high school. So it made it like a really difficult time for me, like personally, and like I realized like the same type of breakthrough that you had when you got that microphone for the first time was the same breakthrough I had when I battled dude for the first time. And I was like, that felt good. You know what I'm saying? Just to be like, I'm expressing, because the dude that I battled at the time I didn't really like. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, I'm going to go ahead and say how I feel about this dude.
In a different way.
In a way. And people liked it. They're like, oh, snap. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, oh, shit. And people appreciate it. So it's like, damn. Okay, so then I applied that to my life. And like, my earlier music is really dark. Like, I was listening to it the other day. Like, I have some dark shit. Like, I went through some crazy shit. Like, I was trying to save the world. And like, my father that was dead. And like, I was like, nah. Like, a lot of angst. You know what I'm saying? And like, when I listened to it, like, it was really cathartic, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I didn't do all that, I don't know where I would be now as a result. I mean,
if you didn't get it out then.
Marijuana was a big help for that, too. I mean, it helped me leave a lot. But the combination of the two and having good friends and people that appreciated what I did, like, it really perpetuated, like, just the growth of wanting to tell my story. You know what I'm saying? And then, like, I started Chronicles, which is, like, right now Chronicles is in a hiatus for those of you who might be watching this and asking questions. It was the longest running hip hop night in Tucson in the sense that we would just do live acts, similar to what you guys are doing over at
Chop and Walk.
Cats would show up, they would play, and that was it. I did that for 9 years. And what's crazy about that is that people will come up to me and be like, hey, Black, like, I just want to thank you because Chronicles was like my first show. And since then, like, I've opened up for whoever I did this summer on tour, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But you gave me a chance to tell a story. You gave me a chance to, like, express myself and do that. And that's kind of like what hip-hop really all comes down to is, like, we all have fucking stories to tell, you know what I'm saying? And then we all find ways to tell them. Some of us don't. And the ones that don't, they go through some dark shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, when you think about like the average person and what they go through, how do they release themselves? They release themselves through watching TV.
Yeah,
they watch Breaking Bad and they live their lives through fucking Walter White.
Yeah, they just vicariously live through these characters on these TV screens.
Yeah, there's the artistic type who appreciate that, but they're like, I can do that.
Dude, I'll make my own shit.
I can do that too. Exactly.
That's what I got to the point where I was watching so much because like it's so weird, man. We're fucking. I don't want to say that we're similar, but our stories are very likely or familiar. When I was young, around like 17, literally like it was around 17 when I first started to smoke weed. It was like my senior year of high school, and it literally it's dumb to say, but it changed my life because I know now, like through a little bit of bro research and bro science, but around like the age of 28, that's when your brain's kind of fully developed. 25 to 28, that's when you're like, all right, we're ready for this shit. So to smoke weed beforehand, yes, is gonna hinder some of the growth, if you will. But when I was 17, I went from just pure angst, like you said, and just anger and rage to the point where it was like, aimed at random people for no apparent reason. Just this buildup of tension because I wasn't telling my story. Because you realize that no matter what you're doing, in some form, you're trying to put something out. Even through the act of sports. Like, you're physically letting people know, like, this is what I do.
You have to have some type of reels.
Yeah, you're like, fucking boom, you're doing that. And, you know, I'm not saying I'm not physical. I used to skate and stuff like that. But when I was skating and I'd listen to music, like, it was not that I didn't enjoy it. I love skating. I still do. But it was like, I feel like I could be making this something else. Like, I feel like I could film this. Or, like, I feel like I should be doing something with this. I don't know what it was. And it got to the point where the only thing that helped was just writing. Not even, like, my story at first. It was just, like, stories I had made up. Because I realized that instead of not talking to people, because I was so mad, I just didn't like to talk to people, I would make up stories about people. And I would create these, like, universes around me, like, coinciding with what I was seeing, and just make it up on the spots where I was like, I gotta fucking write this down, man. So I'd write these little short stories, and I'd get, you know, super invested into it for like a month, and then just drop it. And then invested for a month and just drop it. And it's just like, what the fuck? And then when I was 18, like, I lost that anger, like, at least a little bit. I still have, you know, I'm still pretty...
we all still got anger issues. I mean, I still get mad sometimes.
But it's just different. It was at a lower level. So I was calmer, and I was able to be, you know, around people more. Like, I was just obnoxious. I still am, but I was just, like, more of a fucking dick then. And I went to this party, and it just happened. And
you also have a child, too, though, right?
Yeah, I have a son, too.
That probably calmed you down a lot.
Yeah, it calmed me down like to the point where, but it was a fast, like, it was a stop. It wasn't like, oh shit, things are gonna happen. It was just like, one day it went from like, boom to like, holy shit.
It's kind of how it was for me. It's kind of a crazy story. My girl's probably watching this right now, but the day I found out about my son was the day that I also signed a record contract to this record label called Expat Records. Shitty record label. Fuck you guys. But anyways, Expat Records, they signed me, and I found out that day that I was having my son. And at the time I was living in Tucson, and my girl was living in Phoenix, and so like I was like, I had to make a decision because we were going through some things. So I wasn't sure if I was going to go up there to live with her.
Yeah.
We found out about that, so it was like I had to make a decision. Do I do the single father thing, or do I be with this girl? And I decided to be with the girl because, you know, she was one of the dopest things in my life. But that was like a huge turning point for me. But to go back to something that you were saying earlier about...
oh, I'm so sorry. I'm going to take a break real fast. I'm going to exchange the batteries in this camera.
Okay.
And then just take a quick break, check these audios.
Just by your kids. Like, raising a good child to the point where your child just, like, honors you. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody wants to remember to live on. And so, like, being, like, someone like me and you, or you and I'm not sure if I'm using that right.
You and I.
You and
I and we.
We have high creative output. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we thirst for just being able to get our stuff out there. And that's like really the difference when it comes to like hip hop. And I'm probably about to go in right now, Arizona hip hop a little bit. Because like Arizona hip hop, the big problem is that like there's a lot of cats who see and they emulate. They see Drake, they see Kendrick, they see whatever, and they emulate. They're like, I want to be like that. Mm-hmm. Which is fine. But the reasons why they're doing it is not necessarily because they want to tell a story. It's because they see the money and they see the jewels and they see the riches and they see the fame.
They see the like the rewards that comes with it.
Right. And I get that. I understand that. It's like, yo, I want to be famous. It's kind of. I'm not sure how I feel about that now. Saying that at 31 years old, ask me at 25. Yes, I would love to be famous, but nowadays, I have a kid now. So, but fame and being able to have my story heard by millions, fuck yes, I would love that. You know what I'm saying? But I see a lot of cats who just like, oh, auto-tune is hot right now, so let me put auto-tune on my song because, you know, whatever. I have a video involving guns and drugs and bullets and whatnot because, you know, why not?
Yeah.
And then maybe you live that life and you want to tell your story.
Maybe you are a drug lord.
I get that because
maybe
hip-hop,
you're a trap queen.
the thing about hip-hop is that it was rooted from that. It was rooted from New York in the sense that it came from the ghettos and people had these stories to tell about being shot at or fucking going home to school from school and this and that. So I get that. But if that's not your story, then you should just kind of like stay away from that shit.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of cats that emulate, and that's a huge problem because people will see something that's successful and don't understand that it's successful at that time because it's not what everyone else was doing. And it's as simple as it may be, just because it's slightly different or slightly new is the difference between, you know, popularity and stuff like that. So one thing that people need to understand that, like, when we artists like us, if I can say so, like Oh, what the fuck? Was that you?
That was me. Sorry.
I was like, dude, there's someone shooting out fireworks.
Pop, pop, bitch. Now I'm trying to tweet the shit out so people can watch us have this conversation about life and shit.
If you wanted to express yourself, the worst thing to do is try and express yourself through someone else's point of view because you think that it's cool, or you think that it's gonna gain respect, or it's gonna impress women or something like that. Like there's a lot of stuff of mine that does not even have a story to go with it. It's just expressions that I had felt at that time, even if it's just words that rhyme. They don't even need to make a reference. It's just at that time I felt like this, so I put this there. So when it comes to stories, there's so many of us trying to tell the same story differently that you need to do it at a different perspective. Like what you did is amazing. That's honestly one of the coolest things that I've ever heard from a local cat that put out an album in that way.
There's no idea is original. I mean,
yeah,
it's not
exactly.
like I'm gonna sit here and I say that I reinvented the wheel, because honestly, like I look up to artists like Childish Gambino, and he did something like where he wrote a script with his album. So my idea is kind of similar, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that like I jacked his idea because I put my own spin on it, but what I'm saying is that no idea is original in the sense that like we just have to find a new way to tell our story to make yourself interesting, especially in this day and age because our attention span is so short. You know what I'm saying? Like we have social media and we have instant gratification. Yeah. Any question,
notifications, instantly.
Video thing.
Well, we're live streaming to the internet right now.
Exactly. I can. If you have a question about fucking, I don't know, Tom Hanks right now, I can answer it within 30 seconds with my phone.
It's incredible the conveniency that people can see and hear us. The next thing is making it interesting, making it entertaining, and making it like thought-provoking, at least in my eyes. The last thing I want to do is say that I'm some kind of genius scholar, like super incredibly intelligent person, but I also don't want to talk about things that aren't very prevalent. Like, yeah, I watch some TV shows. I definitely watch a lot of cartoons, if you can't tell. But I do not watch it like I used to, for sure, because of music and the podcast and stuff like that. But there's nothing wrong with that, though. But that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's bad. Yeah. What I'm saying is that there's a lot of people that don't believe that that's, a story. There's a lot of people that don't believe that what we're doing is a story. A lot of people think we're putting out these personas, or we're doing this thing because we want to just get high and stuff. It's like, dude, that's definitely something that I'm not going to be like, I don't get high. Of course, like that's a part of my thing. Like that's what I do. But I'm not going to tell you that when I'm writing a song, as dumb as it may sound, there is a part of me that is inside of it that is whoa, Inception right now. There's definitely a part of me that I put into that song, even if it's one line. That there's a story that we're trying to get out, and the best way to get it out now is not just by putting it out online. Everyone has a SoundCloud. I saw the best meme ever. Whoever posted it on Facebook, he was talking about girls. It's like dudes want a girl with like a thick waist and a skinny stomach when all they got is a bucket hat and a SoundCloud. And I'm like, dude, that is so fucking funny because everyone has a SoundCloud, man. Yeah. Everyone's got a bucket hat and everyone's got a SoundCloud. But now, what else do you got? Like, now I've got a fucking YouTube channel and a podcast. And like we were talking about a little bit earlier on the break, I'm making a documentary. And it's going to be, I say it's a documentary about me. Honestly, it's a documentary about the origin of my music career and Arizona hip-hop. Not even hip-hop, music. Because I'm working with a lot of cats right now. I've got a girl coming in next week who's like an amazing singer. And I'm looking into other things, like other venues as far as like a band, like a drummer and a guitarist, just like me and 3 dudes killing it, like on stage, like making music. Not
see what's good is that you're young too. So what I'm saying is, and you have.
I feel like I'm not because I have a son. I feel like I'm 45, but people all the time will be like, "How old are you?"
Kids will fucking wear you out.
Are you serious?
Sure. That's for sure.
But the thing is too is I would never have been able to do this consecutively and consistently as I have if I was 19. Like I think I had to take a minute to grow up. Slightly. I'm still a fucking kid at heart, but I definitely grew into somewhat more responsibility, so it allowed me to be like, oh shit, I can schedule appointments, I can get an editing hour, I can meet with artists, I can research for topics and stuff like that. So now that I'm in somewhat of a more mature state, I can do the Guycast, and I can have people over and not be too drunk, or if I can be passed out in Tempe stranded, because that was like where I was when I first started, because I went through a very dark period whenever my son's mom and me separated and I was no longer seeing him constantly. So it was fucking crazy. Like I'm still in the middle of a custody battle as we speak, but it's been, it's gotten better, a lot better. But at one point, it was pure just darkness in my eyes. it was this weird thing where I was like riding a bike 12 miles to work in the heat, and then riding it back, just getting fucking blacked out, wasted, and then doing it again the next day. Not even really making music, and like at that point, that was the only thing I really would say I had going for me, besides trying to get to my son, because I'd have a car and shit like that. So it went from this crazy place to where through that darkness, like it allowed me to see the positive influence music can do. Because without the song that I wrote, there's a song on my SoundCloud. It's called Larfleas. It's one of like, I would say like, it's a story. It's very the first part. I released a second song that's coming out on my EP, called my EP Hie. It's basically like I wouldn't say a part 2, but it's just like there's gonna be, you know, more of these songs, because my son is one of my biggest influences towards music wise. That with each one of these songs, you're gonna see a different story, a different perspective, a different maturity, and then like still like, you know, there's definitely some comical shit in there. It's dark. Like the first song's super dark, and the second one is more like enlightening and a little bit more of like, oh shit, like through that hatred, I've also gained positivity from it as well. So these stories are not just, yo man, I'm fucking wasted and I'm doing drugs. Because yeah, some of my songs have literal words and lines where it's like, I'm drunk and I'm high.
Yeah.
But that's not all I do.
It's a story of life though.
That's, you know what I'm saying? Like, people have vices, and I have a lot of them.
Yeah.
But I'm functioning. I'm right here. We're kicking it. We're not trying to kill anyone. We're not hurting anybody. We're just hanging out in my room having a dope-ass conversation. But now, through these songs, I've separated myself, just as you have, by, you know, other artists as well who have families kind of, I would say, have an upper hand, because they can relate to way deeper levels.
Right.
Maybe it's 2 people, but those 2 people relate to you more than those 100 would have if you didn't have that relationship.
Right.
So it's cool that we can tell a story about us, you know, through these I'm sure you have a story that's somewhat influenced by, you know, having a kid. Like,
oh yeah,
like
of course,
it's going to be in there. No matter, you can't not put it in there if you're a writer. So
I mean, I try to stray away a little bit, but it's hard not
this
to.
Is my fucking like,
he's in my face all the time. It's like he's gonna inspire me. You know what I'm saying? I see him all the time.
Yeah, and even if it's just like a line or two,
he's just like, that's like my seed. Like that came from me.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's crazy. Crazy sons, children in general are just nuts. You know what I'm saying? My son is like one of the most. Just, I mean, I'm sure yours is too. Just like to you personally, it's just like this. Like I was thinking about, this is gonna be like kind of like a weird metaphor, but like so when you create a child, of course, it involves sex, and you have an orgasm, and orgasms feel good and whatnot.
Dude, give me a second. You mind like scooting up a bit? I don't want to piss these dudes
like,
off. It's all good, man. Just like, I'm like, what the fuck is that sound? And I thought it was like the wind. We got to get new chairs, guys. I told you, if you guys want to help me out, we're gonna get new chairs soon.
Get a Kickstarter for some new chairs.
Yeah, dude, I'm gonna start a Kickstarter for sure, or an Amazon wish list, because I need some new shit. And it's just like, you guys want to help me out? If you guys want some better stuff, like, let's do this. But what were you saying?
What was I saying? Oh yeah, so like you have an orgasm, whatever, and you have a child, and you can see whatever. Yep. But that feeling, like when you have a child and like you're actually with that child, it's like the equivalent of like that feeling, like spread out, just like throughout your mind and body, like not like orgasmic.
Yeah,
but like,
yeah. It's this
on that same level though, that same spiritual level of connection where it's just like
it's this weird like
fucking amazing,
like you said, spiritual level, and then there's like a chemical compound. It's oxytocin that's released whenever you see your child. Basically, as it's been explained to me, oxytocin is released whenever you see your child, because back in the day, it was the only thing separating you from eating that child. Like the primal instincts of like where we were back in the day, as far as production wise or reproduction wise and things like that. It was like, there's so much not here. Like that's a viable source of like our mindset back in the day was like fuel, like reproduce fuel, not reproduce because we wanted to live, just like that was just what our body wanted to do. It was trying to make more so we could make more and improve. It was trying to evolve. So, you know, that's super dark, like that's a dark scientific way to explain it, but it's true. Like, there's this like overcoming, like, oh shit, like it's this weird fucking like roller coaster where it's like there's things where I'm like when I watch him and I'm just like, what the fuck? This fool would have died like, you know, 6 months ago if we would have just not done anything. Like this fool was just eating, making his own food and shit, like getting out fruit and stuff. Like this fool this dude couldn't walk.
Right.
And it's super cliche
and
to
even
be
now,
like,
though, it's
watch
like
them
he's still
grow like that.
dependent on you so much. Like,
yeah, it's so strange because this dude, like, you know, I don't hang out with him every single day. He lives with his mother primarily, so it's not like I'm the most dude that he like can get from, like, as far as like mirroring and learning and stuff like that. Like, when I see him, yeah, he fucking does everything I do. But it's so crazy to have him go and be with his mother primarily, and then come back, and his like the way he moves and acts and his facial expressions are exactly like mine. And he doesn't look anything like me. He looks just like his mom. But he, down to a biological level, like, that dude walks like me. That dude sounds like me. It's so fucking strange. And it's fucking crazy to see that as...
Kids are crazy, man. They're like little clones, man. Little clones.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that, like,
We
that's,
just
you know, what we were here to do on the tree, on the food chain. Like, that was what we were supposed to do. Like, we did it. Job well done, man. We fucking... We did it. But now it's like, oh shit, now let's do some more. It's crazy to think that when we were barely surviving with the dinosaurs or whatever, however far you want to go back, like, we were just like, eat, sleep, bang. That's it. And now it's like, eat, sleep, documentary.
Yeah.
And
eat, sleep, dream.
Maybe walk, maybe write, and then bang. Like, there's just like so much stuff that we're doing now towards, I wouldn't say for nothing, but, you know, think of 100 years from now, how like insignificant an iPhone's gonna be, or our memory cards and stuff, to where it's like, this may last forever, probably not. And we're still so invested in getting it out there, even if it's for a blink of an eye, just for us to, even if no one ever watches this podcast again after today, like, just the fact that we did it, it's this weird, like, we're all trying to create this legacy, like this imprint. We talked about it earlier on another podcast of mine, that a legacy to me now is not, you know, having an army or a giant castle. It's being able to live on past my body's existence here. So my son being able to listen to a podcast, you know, as dumb as it may seem, and how not, you know, probably positive this is for him to watch at a young age, like, hopefully when he's like 18 and or something happens, you know,
it's an archive.
God forbid something happens, he's just like, dude, like, what was my dad like when, you know, I was his son. He's not going to be like the not dad around me, because I'm his son. No matter how cool we are, I'm still like, don't die. Like, don't die. I got to feed you. Like, all that stuff. You're super protective.
Don't die.
That's like my main goal. So he can, so
he can live,
Yeah, so he can go back and just watch us talk about music and
what's
watch us
crazy
talk
though
about
is
passion
that,
about
like,
these things.
When it comes to leaving a mark behind, it's like you said, like, it's like leaving an archive, in the sense that I create something that might not be appreciated now, but might be appreciated after I die. And that happens to artists all the time.
All the time.
Artists,
all the fucking time.
Have amazing pieces of work that are, like, get appreciated, like, way after they're dead. Like, oh shit. You know what I'm saying? And, like, if I can just, and I have like 22 projects out in my career. Like, I count, like, all the group projects I've done, and et cetera, and so forth. Like, there's 22 things out there that I've created that have my name involved in some kind of way, shape, or form. You know what I'm saying? And some of them involve a lot of different people. You know what I'm saying? Some of them involve just myself. You know what I'm saying? But, like, the thing is that, like, some of those things have inspired people. Some of those things have created hate. Because I've had beef with rappers, et cetera, and so forth. I've dropped diss tracks before. I've done that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, some of those things have created creative love. Like, I made a love song for my girl before. I made a song about, like, other things that involve love and sex and passion. Like, these are all emotions that convey not only, like, myself, but these, like, make a person, when they read them or listen to them,
it's like relatable.
And, like, I learned this in my screenplay class, that it makes so much sense when I learned this, that, like, so when you write a screenplay, the idea is to attach it to an emotional wound, like some type of emotional scar,
like trauma, or something significant.
Like Mean Girls, homegirl had issues making friends, so that was like the whole, like, emotional wound she had to deal with making friends. And so with that emotional wound, you tell a story based around that, and if you do it right, you'll have a great connection with your audience. So, like, when I learned that, I was like, shit, like, I've been doing that with my music my entire fucking life. Like, there's all these different things in my life that have happened where I'm like, fuck, that sucks, or like, fuck, that's awesome. Like, I need to tell people about it. You know what I'm saying? And, like, I'm not going to necessarily be like, I smoke weed. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather be like, here's a cool story about how I smoked weed or something, or some type of metaphor about
yeah.
weed.
Or like, here's some weird way to say I smoked pot. Like,
right,
there's
exactly.
like some dope ass like
wordplay, something like that.
Wordplay is like the greatest. Like, as much as I am a musician, I'm definitely way more of like a comic in my eyes. Like, I'm constantly thinking of stupid little words to like mix around, or like one-liners to put inside of these songs, and they're not even that funny. But to me, I'm like, like I laugh every time I hear my own little fucking joke. I'm like, that's fucking funny.
But in my eyes, if someone invests in, like if a fan invests in you, they get the joke too.
See, that's the thing too.
And that's the connection. That's what makes it awesome.
What I'm into, like, if you look at this fucking tower of awesome, you will like my music. Like, and it's weird to say because I still don't believe in like my fan base. I definitely do have fans out there, and shout out to you guys. I appreciate so much for even watching this. But as far as I go, like, I'm not like people love my shit. Like, there's some people that definitely appreciate it, but as far as like my quality I've put out and the content wise, like, I'm still not like, oh yeah, that's out there. Like, the songs I'm working on now for my full length is fucking like, this is real. Like, this is not like, it's still not the greatest. I'm not fucking Kendrick, I'm not Joey, but I still love those guys and I aspire to be on their level. As far as like a writer, you know, maybe hip hop dies. It's very popular right now, but maybe it dies again and EDM takes over. So to say that like that's my goal, no. My goal is to make as much stuff as possible. And stuff is a lot. Black Umbrella is the channel I started for YouTube, and it's what not created the Guycast, but the Guycast created the Black Umbrella. It sucks that Taylor Swift has a fucking song about it, but it's
called Black Umbrella. Yeah,
I believe so. There's this. We're competing with some kind of fucking huge Taylor Swift song, I think, for like YouTube search wise. But once we get more content out there, it'll be up there.
Just
but,
spell it weird.
I wanted to do Black Umbrella with 3, but it's most likely not going to happen. But we'll think about it. But as far as stuff, I want to put out, you know, things like you did, a fucking short story, as well as a documentary, as well as a soundtrack. Plus, you know, I'm going to start doing Loot Crate unboxing videos. Like, do you know what Loot Crate is?
Similar, I heard about it.
Yeah, it's a monthly subscription for about $20. You get about 5 to 8 items spent from
like my girl
Marvel,
has,
DC, Star Wars, stuff like that.
Of that. Like that.
Okay,
it's
There's a lot of things like that.
She gets like a box of makeup every month.
Yeah, so it's cool to fucking just do that, unbox it, talk some shit, let you know a little bit of information about the items that I find, and that's just more stuff. And like I said, I'm not saying this is the most entertaining thing and that you're gonna all love this, but it's gonna be cool to have that for people to be like, yo, dude, like, what the fuck what did you do, man? Like, before I met you right now. Like, maybe this is 5 years from now. Like, you can go listen to my podcast, man. I want to do this for a year. For a year straight, for sure, do this podcast. Not saying I'm going to stop after that.
You do 2 a week? That's 104 podcasts?
That's, you know what I'm saying? I want to get 100 episodes out there to be like, was that worth it? You know? As far as right now, this is the greatest thing that I could be doing with my time. Except for writing for my new length or hanging out with my son.
And you started this a month ago, right?
I started this about 5 weeks ago. And I had honestly started this about 2 years ago, like recording. What I used to do is I would take my iPhone and I would just slide it in the middle of a room, like of a table, while my friends were talking, and just record us without them knowing. Until then I'd be like, hey, listen to this. And like, oh shit, like what the fuck, you're recording the whole time?
I've done that with my homies a couple times.
And then I turned it in, because I was living with my best friend at the time, one of my best friends, and I basically lived in the garage, because it was my dark period. I had just separated from my son and mom. I had finally moved out of my mom's house, and I was completely alone. Like, I lived with roommates, but in my eyes, like, I was just survivor man. I was with a knife in the woods. I was just fucking ready to go. So I would just like sleep in the couch in the garage, get wasted, smoke cigarettes and weed, and then just podcast. And it started off with myself, because I would listen to so many. That was the only thing that got me through like the dark ages, like the darkest points in my existence. The only thing that kept me sane and that kept me entertained and occupied during those 12-mile fucking bike rides, or when I was just alone at the house, is listening to other people talk about similar things, or just not about, just something completely different through their perspective that I would have never even known about. So I started to record on my phone. It was really good audio for an iPhone, and I was like, what the fuck? This is so easy. It's so simple. Like, this is not that hard. So I invited a couple friends over. Like, I invited one friend over, and I was like, dude, I'm just going to put the phone right here, smoke some cigarettes, drink some beers, and just hang out. Like, I don't want to be like, so tell me about yesterday. Like, you know, it's cool if you did something yesterday. Like, fuck yeah, you did a show yesterday. Let's talk about that. But I'm not going to interview, like,
I'm not going to make like a traditional interview.
Yeah, like, I'm like, dude, let's just talk. Let's just get it. Like, dude, if we never talked about your music today, fuck it. Not saying I don't want to promote it, but I mean,
Right.
dude, who cares? Like, we're if this is,
I care.
if we can do this right now, like, dude, let's not stop. Let's do it fucking again in 2 weeks. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we'll get there, fucking eventually.
Yeah,
And
it doesn't matter. It's about. I mean, that's what makes the conversations good. And like, I'm sure that people will want to watch this simply because of the fact that like we're just having a conversation and we're interesting people and we have good minds. And
yeah, and we're not like, you know, what's cool, hurting people. Like, we're not advocating violence. We're not, you know, yes, we occasionally intoxicate ourselves, but it's not like we're advocating younger audiences to do so, or that we're like, live this life, it's the coolest. Like, this lifestyle that we lead, at least, you know, even if it's different in our eyes, we're still local artists. As much as if we're not rappers tomorrow, if we're not like cinematographers or filmmakers, as you will, we're still artists in some shape, no matter what. Even if our arms and legs or tongues are cut out, our mindset is an artist. That's how our brain operates. No matter.
Still find a way to create.
Yeah. So it's cool that you're seeing people not just do one thing. Like, we come back to like the beginning. Like, we are in most people's eyes Renaissance men, because we are doing multiple things at the same time that coincide as well as separate. So as far as music goes, like, I do have an EP coming out. It's going to be out in roughly like a month or so, and then I'll get my first t-shirts and stuff like that. Eventually I want to make a t-shirt for the podcast. That'd be fucking dope, and go from there and stuff like that. But what are your what's your new thing? You're like, what's your new, because I saw a video a couple weeks ago that you had posted. What was that?
You're talking about the Back to Earth video?
I believe so. The one with the, you said that it was
that was so I mean, as earlier in the podcast I explained the whole Bleezy Dangerfield and intergalactic time travel and whatnot. So I was browsing on the internet. I might have been Reddit. I'm not sure how I found this. I think I was just Googling movies or something like that. I don't know how I found this, but I came across this site called the Blender Foundation. And what Blender is, it's a software designed for animation and various different graphic effects. It's a free software, open source. You can use it however you want. So these people from, I believe, Sweden, somewhere in Europe, they made a movie using this software. And they made it open source in the sense that you can go to this movie site and download any resource you want, from their color correction to their graphics that they use to their actual footage, anything you want to use. And you can use it in any way as long as you give them credit for the movie. So I watched the movie. It's a pretty cool story, and I was like,
it's pretty chill. Like
I'm gonna chop this up and turn this into a music video, because it kind of sort of ties into the theme that I was doing. But
that's what's so crazy. Is like, it sounded so similar. Like the not only like the style of the song, but the lyrics. I was like, I was freaking out, dude, because like I believed that was yours. Like, not saying that it's not good still. Like, it was just like, I wish it was mine. Like,
I wish I had
was like,
if I had the resources,
Jesus.
sure, but yeah.
That's what I was saying. I was like, what is this guy fucking, like, how is this guy not way bigger than what because I had no idea that that was like a thing. You know,
I came across this and like, this is a fairly new thing. Like,
everything.
There's only there's like 14, 15 maybe open source movies on the internet that you can use, and this has been going on for maybe like the last 10 years or so. The company that made this movie made like 3 or 4 other movies, but they're all animations. Okay. And that's why I didn't really mess with those.
It was really cool, man. Like, it was dope. The like the graphics.
Right.
As far as like the animations too, like the digitalized effect, anything that's 8-bit and pixelated to me is greater than fantasy. Like, greater than what I could ever imagine. Like, that's fucking dope. I don't know why, but I just love like the digitalization of fucking everything.
And it's like going back to what I was saying earlier, like I wanted to find like a cool way to pull out my music. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's
like,
definitely
this
fucking
is a great idea, and I figured let's give it a shot. It turned out pretty well. I mean,
and what's the name of that video?
Back to Earth.
The
actual movie that was edited was called Tears of Steel. It was made by the Blender Foundation. Shout out to the Blender Foundation. If they're watching this, probably not. But you guys are awesome. You guys make great movies. And yeah, it kind of loosely tied into the theme I was doing with the story anyways. You know what I'm saying? So it was a really good deal in the sense that, like, overall, are we still recording?
Yeah, it's just I'm going to switch out this camera.
Okay.
For a second.
Yeah, just overall, it was it's a cool theme, the space theme. It had the time travel kind of deal going on, et cetera, so forth. And Yeah, innovation was trying. What was the deal? I think all movies should be open source. I feel like if there was like, if I could go get like Avengers 2 and get like all the resources for that and make my own little cut for Avengers, not sick that be. It should be fucking dope. All movies should be open source.
Yeah,
all movies should be open source.
Shout out to movies.
All of them. Make a movie open source, damn it.
I hate to fucking end it just because of I keep want to keep going, but there's like I literally just ate up like not even like almost 10 gigabytes of memory.
Oh shit, okay.
Just for that camera. But I mean, fuck yeah. Like that's the thing. Like I said, if we never talked about your music or mine today, who cares? Like we'll do this again for sure. And you know, this is an amazing conversation. I'm glad that we got to meet each other outside of a show because it's very hard to talk to someone at a show, especially when you're doing the show. Like,
a lot of people don't understand
when you're hosting or performing. It's just because like I'm pumped and I'm like, yeah, I want to talk, but I've also got to talk to 20 other dudes and I've got to fucking film. I've also got to fucking watch how much I'm drinking. Plus I got to drink. Like I'm trying to smoke a cigarette. Like there's just so much stuff going on to where I want people to come over and it's like, dude, let's just sit down. Let's just not have other people constantly interrupting or being loud and drunk and obnoxious, and let's just get it going.
Shit.
Yeah.
Do that face thing. We got to, like,
next time we'll fucking you come through. We'll do a jam session, man. We'll find out some beat. We'll
sure. Yeah.
Write,
I'm glad I got to come through. I just wanted to like chat for a little bit.
Yeah, man. This is awesome.
I'm on a little PR campaign.
What's
new
your
EP
thing?
coming out soon? I don't even know, honestly.
Like your link.
You can find me on Twitter at Bleezy Danger
BLEAZY.
I'm mostly on Facebook though. My real name is Jaron Eichner, JARON-IKNER. I get popping on Facebook. Holla.
Yeah, I see you post a lot on Facebook.
And then what else? Instagram Black1AZ, SoundCloud Black1 Arizona / Bleezy Dangerfield. If you just Google Bleezy Dangerfield, shit will pop up because I've been getting it popping with that. So all my links are on there. I changed all my shit over to Bleezy Dangerfield too. So if you Google that, you'll get all my music.
Cool.
So hashtag Bleezy Dangerfield.
What was that website, or you said on Amazon? Where can I find that novel with the soundtrack?
As of right now, you can go to Rosemont Boulevard, so rosemontblvd.com, to get the website experience. That's going to be coming down soon though. I'm pulling that off. You can buy the book on Amazon though.
For how much?
$5. Actually, it might be $3 actually.
Dude, fuck yeah! Please go out and buy a copy.
The experience is a little bit different on the book because you don't get the videos. You get the links to the videos, so it's kind of like you have to click on it. They don't pop up in the thing like the website, but it's still cool. So check it out. If you go to bleezydangerfield.bandcamp.com, you can get the soundtrack. There's 2 different soundtracks. I didn't mention that in the Rosemont. There's a story soundtrack, like, because Jay has his headphones that he listens to, and that features a lot of my Starstruck artists. Starstruck is my team, my family, kind of, sort of. It's not even really a group or a rap group, it's just collective. You're kind of starstruck in the sense that you have a great mind, and that's what this represents. So
awesome.
Starstruck, yay,
Starstruck,
boom!
Dude.
But yeah,
boom.
the thing is that, like, it's about like-minded individuals, but the story features their music in the sense that Jay has his music in the headphones, he bumps that shit, and then there's my music. It's a thing. So there's 2 different soundtracks.
Okay,
Rosemont Boulevard.
Yeah, dude,
Check
I'm
it out.
super
Bleezy
pumped to watch that.
Coming soon. I got a release show at Tippy Tavern end of the month. So
end of the month. Okay, I'll put in a blank. Do you have a flyer for it?
Yeah, I do actually.
I'll put the flyer in post. Find me at TH3 Guycast, Instagram, YouTube, not Facebook right now. I'm still at GUYVER because they won't let me put the Guycast on there because I have it's not my name. So, but find me on Instagram because that's where I'm going to be posting the most like pictures constantly from this thing, and then as well as Twitter because I just adapted Twitter. I just picked it up, so I'll be posting little videos and stuff like that. I do the Guycast every week, but I'm doing little projects as well. Like I just shot my first video for Showbiz. Shout out to Showbiz, and I'm doing small little things like that as well as working on the documentary and writing. Hopefully this has just really inspired me to want to pick up my novel again. So find me at TH3 Guycast. We'll be back here again tomorrow with my co-host Durs. And later on that night, again with Absent Minds. So make sure you guys stay tuned. Find me on Periscope so we can live stream and Twitter and talk during the show. And until then, we'll see you fuckers later.
Peace, motherfuckers.